Hey traders, Raghee here. Probably the most frequently asked question that I received today was basically, in a nutshell, are we there yet? Is the sell-off, is the weakness pretty much done? Are we looking at the tail end of the beginning of the year selling? And what's next? So I think to talk about what's next, we have to hit two calendars. One is the Forex Factory calendar, where we see that the next thing we're going to be dealing with is the unemployment rate, the non-farm payroll, and our hourly earnings. So that's the next big thing. 8:30 p.m. tomorrow, non-farm payroll. After that, we are inching closer and closer to earnings, meaning, starting really already, we've seen some major earnings, but earnings really kind of psychologically kicks off with the financials. And you'll see right here, BlackRock, Citi, JP Morgan, Wells, Bank of America, Goldman, PNC, Morgan. These are all your top 11, top 15 weighted stocks in the XLF. That's really going to start off the psychology of earnings season. It's going to affect the S&P. It's going to affect the Dow. S&P, XLF, the financials are weighted second. In the Dow, they're weighted first. So we know that this is going to be actually very impactful. You have USB down in here. So we have a lot of financials coming up, kicking off next week. So again, that's another calendar that we need to keep an eye on. The last thing is sort of the bigger picture. And that is, we know we're heading into a tightening cycle. We know we have hawkish messaging from the Federal Reserve. We also know that when we're looking at the expectations for when are we going to see that 0.25%, the quarter point rate hike, it seems to be inching into that May-June window. Now, how do you know that? Well, take a look at January. There are no expectations for any rate hikes. I mean, you can see the column here at 0 to 25, nearly 100%, might as well be. Going to March, the column starts to do what? Starts to shrink a little bit, and it starts to move out into March. And that's actually a pretty significant shift to see that this column is actually looking more and more like there's a possibility for a rate hike. Not super high, but we go into May, it starts to become a little bit more likely. We go into June, there's no doubt that the entire timeline to rate hikes really has shrunk into maybe March, maybe May. And before it was, oh, we'll see this in June. Oh, no. Remember, equity markets are holding while Fed fund futures are indicating that the timeline to rate hikes keeps shrinking, keeps shortening. All right, so the question to, are we there yet? In the case of the NASDAQ and the Dow, really becomes, are these two choppy markets, Dow and NAS, are lower JT multi, meaning the 34 EMAs, indicating that yes, we are still in a range-bound environment. And the way that I would look at this would be, I'm not expecting the Dow to go oversold again, right? Taking a look at our choppy market indicator here, I'm not expecting this. I'm expecting maybe a visit to the middle of this oscillator, our slow stochastic, right? And perhaps a 50% retracement of this last major move. Okay, maybe that would be a buyable opportunity, right around 35,700, 35,680. Okay, on the NAS, it's a little bit clearer. I think we could see oversold NAS, which is to say, look, if you're looking at where price action could be exhausting, the V-score says here, the V-score says now. That +1 standard deviation says this 15,600 level, which was really the low right in here. That's the V-score support. And then as you get down into the Darvis level support, that's going to inch a little bit closer, as you can see, down to 15,550, and then really into 15,500. So that's only about 50 to 100 points difference in this area that we're looking for over sold support. Now, 50 to 100 NASDAQ points within the context of historical volatility is, quite frankly, absolutely nothing when the typical price movement range for the NASDAQ is minimally around 180 to 160 points, as you can see here on the price movement range by day of week. This is the typical historical volatility for the NASDAQ. So when we're talking 50 to 100 points, that's nothing. We're in the zone for being oversold. And we have to look, as I mentioned in yesterday's update, we have to look at the XLK. And I believe XLK, even though it's kind of shaky on the trend, the overall directional bias is still firmly bullish. So we're really looking at either a very volatile pullback buy and continued movement higher, or just looking for something to be oversold, right? How would we be at oversold levels? Previous support like this, or if we were to head down into the 20 reading or even below on our slow stochastic. And again, for those of you that don't know, this is a 21K 3D slow stochastic with an 80 upper band and a 20 lower band. Okay? Easy way to identify a choppy range. And I wouldn't call XLK a choppy range. That's been set because, look, one column of yellow over yellow is barely chop, but we have had 2 red grab candles in a row. We have lost the support of the wave. So we can say this is either a very volatile uptrend or this is kind of borderline chop. And that's how we determine the nuance there. So are we there yet? We're very close. What's probably going to be the last thing that we need to trade through to finally get to some smoother seas next week? It's going to be, let's get past non-farm payroll. Let's get past those average hourly rate wages. Let's take a look at what the unemployment rate is. And then, look, it's not that easy. Then we ended up going into dealing with earnings. And remember, those financial earnings are going to impact mostly S&P and Dow. Of course, they're going to impact Russell, things like KRE, the XLF. But remember, the NASDAQ is non-financial. So it would make a lot of sense to think about the NASDAQ going into next week if you don't want to deal with the volatility of the hot zones of earnings. Hope that's helpful. I'm still bullish. Yes, we're inching closer and closer to levels where I do believe we're going to attract oversold support. And I'll see you all in the next update.
Hey traders, Raghee from Simpler Trading. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment below. And remember, subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll get notified of the next update. And when you're ready to join me for live trading, be sure to head on over to simplertrading.com. I'll see you in the next update.